what's it called? Alcon, and working in the legal department. He was a legal assistant, and that kind of helped us make the decision to, take the leap. It was a steady paying job. I had enough in the 401k from Riata to use. I took it all out and said, go for it. I won't have a 401k, but it's all right. We'll figure it out later. So we took that 401k helped us get through the year. We went to Mexico for Christmas. And I went to go talk to an uncle of mine. He was basically a loan shark, and I mean, no, not basically, he is. And said, Theo, this is what I have. This is my plan. It was on a piece of paper. When I call it Magdalena's after great uncle. He's my great uncle after your sister, and yeah, I need $30,000. We'll pay you back within a year. If anything changes, I'll just I'll let you know. So he said, yeah, cool. Here you go. Here's a check. Just deposit it when you cross over. I'm like, what happens if I deposit it here?
Welcome to Winning Strategies Playbook, the podcast where we welcome business leaders, CEOs, and industry experts to discuss the rise to the top, building wealth, and real estate insights. Here's your host, Jeremy Spann.
Welcome to Winning Strategies Playbook. For more information on downloading this episode and other episodes, you can go to myexperiencedrealtor.com. That's experienced with an ED for you Marines out there that are like me, have a little trouble spelling. And when you click on myexperiencedrealtor.com, you can click on podcasts. When you go down to podcasts, you can download these episodes on all the different platforms like YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, iTunes. And you can also click read more on the guest, like our fabulous, very good friend of mine, celebrity chef Juan Rodriguez of Magdalena. How are you doing, brother?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Can't complain. Yeah, I'm doing really well. A lot of stuff going on. So
a lot of stuff going on. Well, as we start these things, my father-in-law makes me do a joke, and so I think I found the right joke for this one. And they're all cheesy. I mean, these are like dad jokes safe. Ready? What did the bacon say to the tomato?
Oh, I don't know. What did he say?
Let us get together.
I'm going to take that. You're going to
take that to Lucas? He's going to be like, Dad, you finally got a good joke. Yeah. And then you're going to have to tell me and put a testimonial on this thing because my jokes are horrible. If it actually hits, I got to know.
I'm going to try it. I'm going to try with Paige first, and then I'll move over to Lucas.
It's a good vetting system. Vetting system. If she doesn't laugh,
she'll tell me, she's like, you're an idiot.
Right.
Like,
You go, actually, no, I'm not. Spann is. He's the one that said it.
She's like, oh, makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, completely makes sense. Like, how did I not know that? That doesn't seem like you. That seems like something Spann would say. So we're going to get into a lot of different things involving COVID-19, the restaurant business, but I want to lead up to, I want the audience to understand who you are and what your journey has been to get to where you're at. And if you live in Fort Worth and you're listening to this episode and you don't know who Juan is, then you haven't been eating at really good cuisine that of really great restaurants. So let's take it back to, what got your start, where you're originally from, not necessarily in Texas.
Yeah, no.
And what led you to Texas and just that that journey to get to where you're at now and what
sure.
Tell us about you.
Yeah, so I was born in Chicago. Well, let me backtrack. Before I was born, my parents met in Mexico. They're from Monterrey, Mexico. They moved to Chicago with my mom's. On my mom's side, I lived in Chicago, so I moved out there with her, and that's where they had me. They had me up in Chicago. As soon as I was born, we moved back to Mexico. So we lived there till I was in third grade. So I was always around some good food and the the whole family, Mexican family vibe where everybody's there, aunts, uncles, cousins. After a while, after that, or third grade, we moved back to Chicago. My mom wanted to be with my grandmother, her mom, her dad, and we were there till I was 15 years old. Yeah. During that time, we would go back and forth to Chicago. We would drive. There was only one time that my parents sent me on an airplane because it was Christmas time and we wanted to get down there as fast as we could. But other than that, it was always drive. A big old conversion van. The back seat turned into a bed. We had the Nintendo. We had video VHS back in the day.
How long a drive is it?
26 hours. My dad was so ready to be down there. Him and my mom would just drive straight they would just stop to get gas, right? And water bottles. Here you go, son. Can you go to the bathroom? Okay, here. We are not stopping. Sorry. It's like my mom would get so mad. Andres or Juan, los niños tienen que ir al baño. No, here. Nobody's going to the bathroom. Here you go. So yeah, it was fun. When we moved to Texas, it was definitely a big culture shock, right? So for us, growing up in Chicago, driving through to go to Mexico, once we knew we were coming to Texas, we would just go in the back and sleep. So we never really, all we knew is that Texas is coming up. There's going to be cows everywhere. It's nothing but land. It's going to be boring, as opposed to coming from Chicago through Missouri. It's pretty, trees, hill. I mean, beautiful, right? So we knew that Texas is going to be boring as can be. So next, we're sleeping, and then we wake up in the border, and we can hear the border patrol said, "¿Dónde van? Where are you going?" "We're going to Monterrey." After he said, "Okay, está bien, pasen, go ahead." We knew that life was good again. Yeah, it was fun. I was very blessed to grow up with a really good childhood. I was around a lot of my cousins, a lot of girl cousins, so they kind of forced me to dance. Yeah, a lot of quinceañeras. So like, no, you're going to get your ass up. You're going to dance with us. A lot of good food. My uncles are really good, open fire, cook. And my whole life was just whole animal, Spitfire, barbacoa on the ground, fresh tortillas. There's one little dish, and it's so simple, and it's frijoles con huevo, and it's refried beans with eggs just mixed in. But that was the first dish my grandmother would make as soon as we got to her house driving from Mexico or from Chicago. Every time we would drive in, that she would have that ready. And it never fails. We would get into Mexico, Monterrey, around 8:00 in the morning, because my dad would drive through the night through Texas, be in the border by like 6 in the morning, and that way we can be in Monterrey by 8 in the morning, 9, and that was our breakfast. So it was those little memories, and being around some good food that kind of helped me push myself to get to our goal. That's Magdalena's right now. Yeah, it was fun.
And I remember, so for the audience, have heard Don Williams' episode talking about EO and heard Tony Ford's episode about executive coaching. Tony was both a coach for Juan and I, and Juan and I were in the same forum. But prior to me being in Don Williams' forum, Juan and I were in a forum together. So we've had a number of years of really getting to know each other, and just hearing your, just all the different stories and how much influence your grandmother has in the cuisine now, right? Tell us about that.
And she wasn't like the super creative cook. She was just, your traditional, grandma who would cook just the simple dishes, but she'd do it great. Right. and it was a mix between her and my family. But for me, just the simplicity of the things, like even just like the bean and egg tacos that she would make. I mean, those are the best tacos I've ever had, right? And she would make the tortillas from scratch. She would make flour tortillas from scratch. And I can still see her and my mom to this day, this mental picture that I have of both of them, just working the dough and the technique that they had to make the little dough balls. I as much as I try, I can't get it, right? It's that special grandma mom, touch and feel. And they would get them so perfectly round. They would let them sit there and they would roll them out and get them into a perfect circle. I still try to roll out tortillas and it's like an oval, a square. Why is it a rectangle? Dang it. So many years of working in the business, I can't roll out a really good tortilla. And here's my grandmother just making it look so easy and so calm in demeanor and just so soft-spoken. And here she is just rolling the best flour tortillas you could, ever have. Now I'm getting hungry thinking about her tortillas.
I'm getting hungry thinking about it. And I've had your food, so I know what that means. So what brings you to Texas? And when was how old were you? When
it was my second semester freshman year of high school, right? So before we moved up here, I was going to an all boys Catholic school, high school, just because their soccer team was third in the state. I was able to get on the team, and I knew that I wanted to play varsity as a freshman, and it's in a sophomore. So we're going through that, having a good time. Have a girlfriend. On the phone with her, and mom walks in and says, "We got to have a talk. We're moving to Texas." I'm like, "Wait, what? No, you're kidding, right?" She's like, "No, yeah, we want to be closer to your grandparents." Her mom had moved down to McAllen. I mean, my grandmother Magdalena, my dad's mom was in Monterey, so it was only fitting that we moved down there. The opportunity arose for my mom to open up Motorola here in Fort Worth off of Beach Street. It's no longer there anymore, but when it was hot, they opened up this plant down here. So she said, "Yeah, I'll take the job," and we moved pretty quick. And we came down here second semester freshman year. The high school that I was at, a cool story. Isaiah Thomas was their star athlete there, and I didn't know that till I started walking through the halls and seeing these big shrines for Isaiah Thomas and his glory days at that high school. And then they did the movie Hoop Dreams. I'm like, "See, Mom, this is what I'm missing now. You do your movie." I was super bratty, right? And she's like, "You'll be fine." And sure enough, she was right. It was probably the best movie we could have done.
So you get through high school, and what happens there?
Oh man, I was so ready to be out of high school. I wanted to take the year off, and my mom's like, "No, I'm not in my room. Sorry, you're gonna either have to go to school, work for Motorola if you want. I can get you a job, or do something because you're not gonna be lazy in my house." I'm like, "Oh, I just want to take like a year off, work and this and that." So I was working my senior year. I started working at what's it called? Steak and Nail, right here, Highway 80. A couple of friends were working there. I needed some money for class rings and the car insurance, all that good stuff, right? So I started as a busboy, and then I started. Let me backtrack just a little bit. I was working at Mako painting cars. My mom got me a job at Mako when I was a sophomore. So if you need a car painted, I'm your guy. I can wet sand, dry sand. It'll be cheap. Hey, I know a guy that's cheap. I'm your guy. I'm your guy. It'll be good. Probably. I promise it. I'm a perfectionist. So, so yeah, she got me that job, got me some, I was able to get some cash, save up for a car and all that good stuff. But it wasn't until I started Steak Nail that kind of triggered my interest in culinary. You know, I grew up in the kitchen. I grew up cooking, or not cooking, but eating a lot. Living in Chicago, you're exposed to a lot of great cuisines, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, Chicago, it's tons. I mean, to this day, we take trips to Chicago just to go eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, not in the last year.
I mean, you got everything. I mean, Cuban, Puerto Rican, Polish, Italian, Chinese. I mean, we would go to Chinatown to go get medicine and have some fried rice because they had the best fried rice in Chinatown. And I to this day, my mom still gets that medicine we used to get for colds and stuff. And I don't know if it's like just a Mexican mom thing where, you know, these remedies, right? You know, it works. Maybe it's a mental thing. She's like, yeah, drink it. You'll be fine. You'll get better with this syrup. I'm like,
that's how you got past COVID-1.
Yeah.
Now that we're on 19, right?
Exactly. It's like, just drink it here. I'm like, okay. But I was always around food. So when I started Steak Nail and I started really, working my way up and meeting all these hard workers, and I kind of started loving it, right? What kind of intrigued me more was, Friday, Saturday night, the line cooks, I mean, the grill cooks, they would pump out, 300-400 steaks within hours, and they would send them out perfectly, right? Like no steak would come back, maybe one or two, but that's a really good percentage for that many steaks, to have two come back. But what was cool, obviously the getting together at the end of the shift and drinking, right? Especially when you're not of age, and they're like, "Hey, come on, you worked really hard. Here's a beer." I'm like, okay. But the camaraderie that they would have, and they knew that, they pushed each other to be better. Like, hey, because like they said, if I fail, then he's going to fail. But if I'm doing great, I'm going to help him, push him up, and we're all going to succeed. And it's going to be a great shift. And people are going to leave happy. And sure enough, seeing it on both ends, from the busboy and being in the back, I was able to see the people leave happy and full and just rubbing their bellies because they're like, oh, that was a great meal, right? That kind of, it just kind of, I guess, just clicked for me. What can I do with my life to make people happy and same time appreciate what I'm doing for them. And I thought cooking would be the best thing. So it didn't. My mom, when I told her I wanted to take some time off, she's like, no, go check out a school, do whatever you need to do, just do something. She's like, when I was working at Steak Nail, I wasn't 100% sure that I wanted to be a chef, right? At that point, I was between wanting to be a computer animator. I was in art classes. I love to draw, paint, all that good stuff, do sculptures. So I wanted to go work for Pixar. And I wanted to move. I wanted to move to California, try something different. So when I went to the, I didn't really go. My mom kind of dragged me and said, hey, look, I made you an appointment at the Art Institute of Dallas to go talk to them. And she said, she's like, we're going next week. So we did. We went, we checked out their computer animation program. And I was just super impressed with what these guys can do. I mean, a lot of their drawings, their paintings, half of them were doing comic book type of illustrations. Their sculptures were just amazing. Their computer graphic work was just out of this world. And I'm like, shit, I can't do that.
My skill set is maybe not
Here I am. I'm thinking I'm great. I had a couple of my drawings sent down to Austin to go display it at the Capitol. I'm like, yeah, I'm a tough. Yeah, this is for me. I know it. And I'm walking through and I'm seeing all the designs and drawings. I'm like, no. So the advisor, she's like, all right, well, what are your hobbies? I'm like, well, I grew up cooking and I work at a restaurant. And she said, well, we do have a new culinary arts program. I want you to come meet the chef. He's a master chef, one of the only master chefs in Texas. So, if you want to.
What does that mean, master chef?
So, master chef, you go through this rigorous, 3-4 day test. And it touches everything, different cuisines to knife skills, to management skills. And there's only a handful of master chefs that master certified that make it. And usually it's the older German guys, French guys that get to that level. I've spent most of the time, working in hotels and restaurants, and they go through, those rigorous tests. He was an old French guy or German guy, and I met him, and he was just this big dude, big fat hands. I'm like, oh man, it was sausage fingers. I'm like, yeah, you butchered some animals back in the day. He met him, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I want to give this a shot. Let's do it. Went back to Steak and Ale, and I talked to my GM because she's been in the restaurant business for a long time, and she's like, I love what I do. I wouldn't trade for anything. So you just got to work hard. It's hard, long hours. If you're up for that, if you're up for not working or working on holidays and birthdays and all that good stuff, then do it. But just know what you're getting yourself into before going into it.
Well, even when she told you what you need to know going into it, did you have any idea of what that was actually going to mean?
Yeah, no, no. Yeah. I halfway through, I jumped on the program, and it got super hard for me because my parents had moved out to Peaster, and I couldn't afford to get an apartment in Dallas. So I was driving from Peaster to Dallas. Well, first I was driving from Peaster to Fort Worth to go work. I would get off at 2-3 p.m., go to night school in Dallas, Monday through Friday. And then Monday through Thursday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was working at Motorola still because they were paying really well. I was working 36 hours Friday through Sunday, but then the rest of the week would be school and Steak and Ale. I got into 2 accidents because I fell asleep. I would sleep on the parking lot of the school in between Steak and Ale and school because I had about a 3-hour break. So I would just nap in my little Cavalier, and somehow I still managed to hang out with friends and party it up, but not too much. I did turn down a lot of invites, which kind of sucks. You wanted to have fun with everybody, but I would drive home, wouldn't get home till midnight, especially if there was traffic in Dallas. That late night traffic, for some reason, there's always traffic at 9 p.m. I'm like, oh, what's going on here? But then do it all over again. During that time, I almost gave up. Said, I don't think this is for me. Went to the GM and said, I can't. This is too much. Don't have a lot of money. My parents can't help me out a lot. They helped me with a couple of payments for the car because I was falling behind, and I just want to give up. So went to the advisor and said, I think I just want to drop out. And somehow she convinced me to still stay on. She's like, just finish it. You're the youngest person right now. Everybody, this is their second second, third career, or they're just doing it for fun, but you're the only young person that's trying to make a career out of this. So I stuck with it, and graduated. I was the youngest to graduate in my class. Like I said, they're lawyers or housewives who just wanted to get, culinary education at a culinary school, right? At that time, we didn't have YouTube or any of the online classes they could have taken, so everybody went to culinary school. So it was busy. I mean, it was a busy program. A lot of good stuff, and the German chef was great, and he came around and talked to everybody, and same thing, just try to keep me motivated. But yeah, just something just clicked after the advisor talked to me and said, "No, just keep going. It'll all be worth it." I'm like, okay, well.
So then you get to graduation. How old are you at that point?
I was 20 at that point.
And what are the next steps after that?
So I got a job working for the Classic Cafe in South Lake. At that time was in South Lake. The original is still in Roanoke. And I was working at another place downtown Fort Worth called Zolan. They had just hired me as well. So I was driving back and forth. Started both around the same time. And the Classic Cafe was probably what made me really appreciate what I was doing. It's kind of the chef there at that time, Jennifer Brightman, and she was so passionate about cooking and the ingredients, and we made some really good food. And after that, the excitement just kicked in. I'm like, okay, so yeah, it's going to be worth it. And she said she saw something in me that I was going to go far. So once I had that what's it called? That push from her, it kind of kept me going. I was there for maybe a year or two, and then the drive again, just getting too much going up to South Lake. So I went full time here downtown Zolan. So that was a really cool, fun restaurant group. Wasn't managed that great, but yeah, there's a lot of issues with family and owners and all that. So I was working in the mornings at the Italian concept that they opened up called Zoe. And then I would work at night at their American bistro concept, which it used to be Zoe used to be the Taverna. And then Zolan used to be Piranha's Sushi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Matter of fact, they just closed their door.
They did. Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
So let's tell the rest of the journey of like what experience in other restaurants did you get?
Yeah.
Leading up
So
to when you said, I want to go do this on my own.
So from there, they acquired Angeluna across from the Bass Hall. So I became their sous chef there. Left there.
What does that mean, sous chef, for the audience?
So yeah, so in the kitchen world, you have your culinary ladder hierarchy. You have your executive chef, which is your top dog, right? Then he has his vice presidents, I guess you can say, which is your sous chefs. And then from there on, it goes to line cooks, chef de partie, which is, your banquet chef and so on. But your two top guys will always be your executive chef and your sous chef. Those are the two people that the whole kitchen kind of answer to. And, it all changes. It all depends where you work. Some places like a big hotel may have two executive chefs or an executive sous chef and two sous chefs, and just depends on the size of the operation. It can get too much, right?
Right. There can be
It's
too many
like
moving parts.
Too many
Well, I was going to say something else, but I guess we're not allowed to use any types of words we used to be able to use a year ago because while the intention behind them is great, anything we say is politically wrong now.
For sure.
You know, I guess we don't even use verbs or nouns. I just sit here and not talk.
Yeah.
Last week it was okay to say that. This week it's not. It's almost like you got to have like a Twitter update. It's like, hey, as of this week, it's no longer Mr. Potato Head, it's Potato Head. And hey, this week turns out Dr. Seuss is racist or whatever. Yeah. You're just like I can't even keep up.
Or Speedy Gonzalez. I'm like, what? I love Speedy Gonzalez.
Yeah, like what?
This is coming from Mexican. I love Speedy Gonzalez.
Like, what was the one someone told me the other day? It's like, yeah, they read somewhere where Pepe Le Pew.
Oh, yeah.
No, yeah. How can you call the French a skunk?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this is just, we're getting out of hand on, nothing we can say is unoffensive, right?
Yeah.
So your sous chef cross street from Bass Hall. What happens there?
After there, I go to Rough Creek Lodge.
Okay.
And opened up a small little, what's it called? To-go meal called Super Suppers. But I think what also helped me during that time to really appreciate what I'm doing was Rough Creek Lodge. If the drive wasn't if it was shorter, I'd be there. But the drive was way too long. It got too heavy for me as well. I like to drive everywhere. Jeez. I don't know how to think about it.
Miles that you put on.
I think I went through 2-3 cars just putting a lot of miles in them.
And you can't even say it's because you're out trying to pick up chicks.
Yeah,
you're just trying to make it back and forth.
Just trying to make it back and forth. I'm trying to get some sleep. That's all I'm trying to do. So yeah, Rough Creek Lodge, man, that was fun. The chef, Gerard Thompson, he's great. He's California. If you haven't been to Rough Creek Lodge, I highly recommend it. You know, it's a good weekend getaway. It's in Glenbros, but you don't expect for something like that to be out there. Diamond Star Resort, 84, 85 activities. The food is just amazing. They make their own breads. They have their starter dough that they use for their sourdough bread. They've been using that same starter dough for years. So the bread is just amazing. Everything's made from scratch. Desserts, pastries, or breads. They bring in their fish. He's got local suppliers around Stephenville that bring in greens and vegetables and pigs, and they do their own charcuterie, which is their own sausage, dried salami,
by
dried
greens,
prosciutto. Vegetables.
You're not allowed to say greens anymore. That's politically incorrect.
Oh, okay. Veggies. Green veggies. Yeah, not green. Sorry.
Like veggies. We can't even say you're brown anymore. We say you're taupe.
We can't. No,
we might have to edit that part out. I don't know. Someone's going to be like, "Come on, if you can't, if you can't find fun in any of this,
somebody will."
Oh yeah. You can't say anything in this world anymore without somebody being offended. So
for sure.
So you go down to Rough Creek, and then what's after that?
After that is Lonesome Dove.
Lonesome Dove?
Lonesome Dove, yeah. So I had a friend that was working at Lonesome Dove, and he said, hey, come apply. They're looking for a chef. Went up there, met with Tim Love.
Okay.
And
another celebrity chef
here.
It's been around for a while.
Yeah, he's done great for his business for Fort Worth. And I became his AM pastry chef. And help with the banquets at night as well. And I think probably like 3-4 months into it, he came up and said, hey, we're opening up a Lonesome Dove in New York. You want to go up there? Yeah, let's do it. Heck yeah. And we did. He's like, all right, cool. Y'all are going to load up a U-Haul and take all the furniture, drive it up there. And y'all, I'll meet you up in New York. I'm like, all right. So here we are. It's June 2005. We're loading up all these chairs and steer heads and pewter plates, and we're driving up. It's 3 of us, the GM and two sous chefs, and we're driving through, Tennessee, and they're taking turns and driving, and we get to Nashville, and we go eat. I get in the car, I passed out, and I wake up in New York City. And I'm
you got a history of sleeping through long parts of the drive.
Yes. Yep. And that's what I told him. Like, guys, you got to understand, we would drive to Chicago and Mexico. I would just pass out. He's like, yeah, we drove the whole way here. I'm like, oh, was it good? Did I miss anything? Because I wanted to see the country. I want to take advantage of it. So we got there, big U-Haul through the city, loaded up, and we were there for about a year. Best experience I've ever had. Had its ups and downs, but man, it was great. We had a good time, really good time. We had some good press, and we worked a lot, but we played a lot. We helped build the restaurant and paint and organize, so it kind of felt like we were a big part of it. Unfortunately, New Yorkers don't like Texans. So yeah, it was funny. We put a cowhide in the front.
Did you tell them I'm from Chicago? And they go, no, we hate Chicago even worse. So you just say, you'll let me less if I'm from Texas.
Where can I say, man, maybe I can say I'm from Jersey? No, that's even worse. I don't know. I'm from Mexico.
And somebody hates that or something.
Yeah, I know. Oh, we don't like Mexicans. We like Cubans up here and like Dominicans. But it was really cool meeting a lot of interesting people, and it was interesting, the way people live up there. And one of my dishwashers was a Dominican, and he was playing. He was supposed to be traded to, or he's supposed to play for. Who was it? It was one of the Miami, maybe. Yeah, the Marlins. He was a pitcher for the Marlins, backup pitcher, and he messed up his shoulder in the boating accident, and he had to go down to like AA or single A, whatever the lowest tier is. I'm not a big baseball guy, but he said he was trying to train to get back into it. I'm like, yeah, but you're my dishwasher. He's like, man, I just need a job right now. I'm like, he's like, yeah, I was getting ready to sign a big contract, and I fell off the boat because I was being dumb and got drunk. And I'm like, they just dropped you like that? He's like, yep. He's like, no, I'm going through therapy and trying to get that, but now I got a baby in the way and this and that. I'm like, seeing that side, like seeing somebody go so close to achieving that big contract to just, losing it within a day because of something stupid that he did was just like super eye-opening. We coming from Texas, we didn't. All of our people that work here are, people that we know, but getting to meet people that did it at, wholly different ends of the world, with cool story. Sad story that he lost a contract, but getting to meet people was really cool. One of my sous chefs was from Hawaii. He was a sushi chef, older white guy, funny, Rick. And he was like, I think he was 65 when he came and worked for us. But I've never seen anybody hustle so hard for an old dude. And him just moving to New York to give it a shot. I'm like, man, that's some balls right there. And he's like, yeah, I left Hawaii and just wanted to try New York. I'm like, he's like, I had everything. I was working for one of the big sushi chefs in Honolulu and just decided to come out. I'm like, huh, okay, well, yeah, no, it was fun. Met a lot of cool people, like I said, and it was just time to head back.
So New York, you've gone through all this learning in the culinary world of how to do the culinary arts, but really it's being in New York where you're engaged with so many different stories, so many different avenues, call it diversity.
For sure. Yeah.
And now that really kind of goes, so now you're coming back to Texas. What's going through your head?
Yeah, no, it's meeting for me. It was just getting to meet more people. Like, how do I meet more people and get out there, get my name out there? Oh, excuse me. Get out there a little more. And because I mean, New York, I think I met 3, 4, 5 different people every day. You know, even just going to the bar afterwards, it's just random people. They're super like happy to meet you and really know where you're from. So building connections, right?
So it turns out they really didn't hate Texans.
They didn't hate me.
You were your own one nationality.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. No, I met a lot of good people. You know, it was really funny. We went to a bar one night and we walk into this bar in Soho. We're sitting down and friend said, "Hey, I'm meeting some friends here. You know, let's go meet up with them." And then it's like 4 girls and 2 guys. And he didn't tell me that, and I guess he didn't know either. But they were all TCU grads. I'm like, well, I'll be damned. I'm walking to this bar, meeting your friends, and I'm chatting with them. They're like, "Oh yeah, we went to TCU." I'm like, well, I'm from Fort Worth. He's like, "Oh, okay. Well, it's a small ass world, you know, living in this big ass city, and you walk into a bar and there's these, you know, TCU grads." So it was cool. And
were they cute?
Yeah.
Did you hook up with any of them?
Maybe.
Okay. Did you hook up with all of them?
No, not all of them. I tried.
You tried. You didn't get anybody. Paige, he didn't hook up with anybody.
No. New York was just there. It was all business. It was all work. Yeah. Yeah. You know, a funny story when we walked into, or when we first started, or we first moved to New York, we had a little bit of relaxed time. So we would all go out at night. And there was one night where Tim, myself, and the other guys and some other people went out. And we left the meatpacking district. We walked past this restaurant, probably like midnight. We were super hungry. We sit down and Tim's like, "All right, what do you guys want?" I'm like, "Man, I'll just take that and this." He's like, "No, we're going to buy the whole menu." I'm like, "Well, we should have started with that." And I'm like, "What do you mean the whole menu?" He's like, "Yeah, one of everything." I'm like, "No." "Yes, we are." "Bullshit. Yes, we are." I'm like, "Okay." So the server comes up. He's like, "Yeah, what can I get you guys?" So first we're going to start with these drinks, whatever, right? He's like, "Give me one of everything." He's like, the server's like, "One of like the appetizers?" He's like, "No, one of everything on your menu." Like everything. He's like, "Yes." Are you deaf? "Yes." And he started bringing everything. It was like 4 or 5 of us, and they had to put food over at the bar, back here, behind us. The table was covered. And he's like, "Yeah, that's how I roll." I'm like, "You just bought the whole menu in one. Okay, cool. All right. This is going to be fun. I like it." And yeah, no, we had a good time. Like I said, we worked hard. And what the I would say cool thing, but the interesting thing is how big a food critic has on your business, how much of an effect. So we would have meetings before the shift started and try to figure out or who the reservations, try to see if we can recognize any of the food critics or any of their aliases. We had a list, pictures, what they would look like and this and that. And we would miss them. Like they were super good about being,
incognito.
Yeah, incognito. Yeah. That we would miss him until the review came out or reviews came out. Some would already tell you, "Hey, so and so Adam Platt's coming. He's gonna sit here." But most of the time, we would miss him, and it's crazy. It's crazy what an impact in that big of a city food critic has. So,
did you get good, bad? What were y'all
getting? And they're all over the place. Like I said, it was the whole Texas thing, but the food was good. A lot of the reviews, the food was good. It's just the whole honky tonk thing,
Well, it's kind of funny. I remember a couple of years ago, and for the audience, like I said, Juan and I have known each other for a long time. He's one of my dearest friends, and I was giving him a hard time. Actually, I think we were up in Park City.
Oh yeah, we were.
And I remember he was like, "Hey, where are we going to eat?" And I was like, "Are you kidding? We're in the grocery store. You're cooking this whole weekend."
That's right.
And, I'm like,
and we loaded up too.
oh yeah, it was so good eating for the weekend. And I said, "Hey, since you used to work in New York, and they got Michelin rated restaurants."
Yeah.
And I said, why don't we have any Michelin rated restaurants in Texas? Do you remember what you said?
Yeah. I think I remember. No, I don't remember.
You go because we create food, not tires.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That is true. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
It is true. We cook good food.
Yeah.
Yeah. We they overlook Texas and the Michelin does, but yeah. We don't need tires. We're good. We do just great, and we have a lot of great followers here in Texas, and that's all we need.
So you get back to Texas. Where do you go then?
Riata.
And I know that if you are a Fort Worth person, whether you've been here a couple of days or a couple of centuries, everybody knows what Riata is.
Yeah, everyone.
A staple of Fort Worth.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It is.
Yeah.
I applied on Career Builder. I don't know. Is that still a thing? CareerBuilder.com?
Oh, man,
it's kind of like Indeed or but that was a thing back in the day. Monster.com too.
Yeah. I remember that one.
Holy shit, world. Like, is that still a
is that still a thing? I think most people just tweet.
Yeah.
So you get to Riata.
Yeah, well, actually, when I applied, I actually, there was a little part that I missed out where I applied at Riata. I started, it was in between the Zolan and the Angeluna era where I applied. The chef told me to come in. I was hired. They took all my information. And I showed up one day. He told me to show up on this day, and nobody was there. And they were doing construction on the new building. So I'm like waiting there for an hour, and the construction guy's like, "Yeah, no, nobody goes. We're doing construction. Nobody's here. Nobody gets here till later if they come." And this is a Saturday morning. I'm like, "Well, this is a bitch. I'm waiting here." I called and texted everybody, or not text, but I called and said, "Oh yeah, we'll be there." And then the other chef is like, "Hey, call Juan. He's taking care of it, or taking care of you, this and that." Well, nobody's here. So I got pissed off and I left. And after that week, my grandmother had passed away. So I couldn't come in. I called Juan and said, "Hey, nobody was here. What's the deal?" He's like, "Oh, sorry about that. Miscommunication." I'm like, "All right, cool. Well, I can't come in because my grandma passed away. I got to go down to McAllen and be with the family." "Oh, yeah. Just call me whenever you get back." I'm like, "All right, cool." But called and nothing ever came of it. So, so that was my short little stint at Riata. So fast forward, and I got a job at Riata. I know that people don't leave; they stay there for a while because, it's a good job, good paying job. And they treat their employees well. And so I saw the post for a sous chef. I applied, got hired, and jumped on board as one of the sous chefs. I was there 8 years, and then 6 of those I was the executive chef. Became the youngest executive chef that Riata's ever had. So, there's a line of chefs. There's a lot of great chefs that come out of Riata. It's kind of like the last stepping stone before opening up your own place. Grady Spears, Todd Phillips, Juan Jaramillo, and then myself were the 4 chefs that Riata has ever had. At that point, for being that long standing of a restaurant, to only have 4 executive chefs in that time was just, it's a good indication that it's a good place to work. we had a good time too. We worked a lot and we did a lot of cool stuff. And I went down to Alpine, to the original, to go check out, their operations and see what the original Riata's like. And it was fun. And I've never been to that part of Texas, so it was nice to get to, see that side, and stayed at the ranch that Mike and Al own. And I remember we're going back home to the ranch, and it's so dark. There's no lights. There's nothing, because it's just
there's nothing down there in that part of town. I mean, this is Southwest Texas.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah. So I'm driving with some of the chefs, and I turn off the lights, and because it's like 9, 10, 11 o'clock, and I turn it off. I'm like, hey, let's see how dark it really is. So I turn off the lights, and we're driving. I'm like, oh shit, it's really dark. All you see are the lights, or the stars. I'm like, sorry guys, let me turn these lights back on. I'm like, yeah, please don't do that again. I'm like, okay, one more time.
What you were trying to do was go, this is why I shouldn't drive, and y'all should just let me sleep like I normally do.
Yeah, exactly. So when I tell you, hey, you drive, do it.
So Riata, there's at a certain point, you've gotten now all this experience.
Yeah.
You're ready to go do your own thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, at Lonesome Dove, I learned a lot about marketing yourself and meeting people and making those connections. Riata helped me with the business aspect of owning, your own business, mass producing, numbers, what does it take to make sure you hit your bottom line and make sure you're making money and not losing money. So during that time, I think it was the last maybe year and a half that, it's always been in the cards to open up something. I had met Paige at Riata, and we hit it off, and I said, this is one of my dreams. I don't have a business plan. I just have a dream. I'm like, as long as I have a dream, all the details can come later, right? So we started looking. We almost opened up in Mansfield, a restaurant, but that kind of fell through. So went back to Riata. Well, I didn't go back. I told the GM at that time, because he knew I was trying to open up something in Mansfield. I came back and said, hey, that's not going to work out, but I'm still actively looking to open up something. He's like, man, whatever you need, I'm right here. I know you're hungry for that, and respect that. So he was really cool. And then, one day I just kept talking about it. And she said, you know what, just shut up and do it. Go talk to whoever you need to talk to. Go talk to your uncle. Go talk to whoever you need to get money from to start this.
Now, were y'all married at this point, you and Paige?
We weren't. Okay. No, we weren't married yet. We celebrate 7 years this weekend.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. We were dating at that time, and I said, when we were working at Riata, I said, if we want us to get married, I want to make sure that we can work apart from each other. Right? I'm like, I don't know if that made any sense. I think I just wanted to get her out so she can go find another job. So calling her bluff, and she's like, all right, I'm going to quit. I got another job at the Fort Worth Club. I'm like, oh shit, you're serious? I'm like, well, there's no going back. But no, she's probably the sweetest, hardest working person I've ever met. And, she left to go work at Fort Worth Club. And that's when she started pushing me, and, we started sitting down and seeing what we need to do to make it happen. So she ended up getting let go from Fort Worth Club and jumped on over at, Alcon, and working in the legal department. She was a legal assistant, and that kind of helped us make the decision to, take the leap. It was a steady paying job. I had enough in the 401k from Riata to use. I took it all out and said, go for it. I won't have a 401k, but it's all right. We'll figure it out later. So we took that 401k helped us get through the year. We went to Mexico for Christmas. And I went to go talk to an uncle of mine. He was basically a loan shark. And I mean, no, not basically, he is. And said, Dio, this is what I have. This is my plan. It was on a piece of paper. Want to call it Magdalena's after great uncle. He's my great uncle after your sister. And yeah, I need 30 grand. We'll pay you back within a year. If anything changes, I'll just, I'll let you know. So he said, yeah, cool. Here you go. Here's a check. Just deposit it when you cross over. I'm like, what happens if I deposit it here? Like, do I get shot or something? It's like, no way. You just go to the bank across. My bank is in Laredo. I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay. So there ain't no gangster stuff. It's just, you gotta go. You gotta get back over there to cash it at the actual bank.
Like, is somebody going to follow me? I don't know. Oh, geez. But yeah, no, it was his loan, and it kind of helped us start the venture of Magdalena's. Yeah. Let's see. I left Riata after rodeo of 2015. So in March, we started, just hitting the floor and trying to get in front of people. So while Paige was working at Alcon during the day, her boss was really cool and said, hey, have you got your work done? You got my work done, whatever. You can spend time, doing, your business if you want. And so she would do on her lunch breaks, she would, email people. She would get me in front of people to talk, bring some food, some samples. We would go all over DFW. Any company that, was looking for a caterer, we were there trying to pitch ourselves. It was like any startup. It was hard. Obviously, you have come give me some samples. We love to use you, but then you don't hear back for forever. Right. So, for every door that closes, we always, two are going to open up, and we just kept pushing. She just kept putting me in front of people. I would show up with food and just keep, give our spill and just go from there. And, it was hard trying to teach people. They wanted to make the connection still with Riata. I'm like, no, I'm not Riata anymore. This is Magdalena. This is my grandmother. This is my background. This is who I am. Oh, but you were at Riata, right? Can you do those cheese grits? And I'm like, sure. Yeah, whatever. But, we had to stay true to, what we were wanting to do and who we wanted to be. So we just kept pushing and pushing, and Paige made friends with a lot of wedding vendors, and we had our first big break with, it was actually a family, some family friends that their daughter was getting married, and their wedding planner happened to be Tammy Nguyen, which is one of the best wedding planners that you can ever have. She's amazing. Her events are top notch, and this event happened to be on the stage of Bass Hall. So I was nervous. I actually, I kind of threw up before the event because I was, butterflies and all that good stuff. And, I didn't want to screw it up because this is our break. This is, having that many people for somebody that's just up and coming was big for us. So we did it and got a lot of publicity from, 360 magazine and a couple other wedding magazines, I think. But that kind of helped us.
So this kind of helped launch you.
Yeah,
right?
it did.
You were able to show what you've been trying to demonstrate to people.
Yeah.
And then finally you get the opportunity And naturally, you wouldn't have got all this great publicity if you didn't hit a grand slam in what you did to deliver, right?
Yeah.
So what was that like going from literally tossing your cookies because you're like, this is where this is make it or break it, and then the results of it was, wow, we made it. What was that? What was the journey of the feelings to go from there to there?
It took a little bit. Yeah. It took maybe a year and a half, 2 years. After that event, we got a lot of publicity. We knew that was our moment, and we got a lot of business from it. But we were still dealing with our commercial kitchen not being ready. So it kind of just put a damper on things, right? Here's the high of, heck yeah, this is our moment. This is a great publicity for us. It's going to set us apart. And then here we are with the contractor bailing with money, So it's like, whoop, it's that roller coaster of emotions that entrepreneurs deal with, right? It's like, yeah, you got that nice high, and then you get brought down all the way low. It's like you bailed with money, so now your uncle and dad are helping you trying to finish the build out, and the plumber's helping any way he can. He's going above and beyond, and he's not even charging you extra, and everyone's just really cool. But then you have this asshole who's just made out with some money, and it's like, all right, fuck it, we got to pull together. Paige kept booking stuff, so we cooked out of our house. If any health inspectors are listening, that was many years ago. It's okay. We are good now. We only get like one deduction now for our inspection because they're always going to find something. But back in the day, we would have been screwed.
But I think that's the not necessarily funny haha about being an entrepreneur, but just kind of the funny aspects of it is people see the results of what you do now, but they don't see all the scary things, the insecurities, the everything. So one of our episodes we're recording this week, so as you know, we record in bulk, is Chris Powers. And I was listening to one of his podcasts on the plane coming back from Wisconsin on Monday. And, and he talking about COVID and whatnot, and was just like, yeah, any entrepreneur that tells you that they haven't been scared at some point or had just this super insecure feeling or whatever, they're either not an entrepreneur or they're lying to you, because, man, it doesn't matter how lucky you are being in the right place at the right time for everything. There's the blessing of what happens with knocking it out of the park on this wedding that you did, but then the curse of, I don't have the infrastructure to really grab the momentum I want to grab that I finally have. Yeah. But a lot of people in that moment will quit. You said, no, I'm going to figure it out. And you did. And what happens from there?
Yeah. And then we were down to our last $1,200, and we still needed to buy food for another big event. We got a big check in for $20,000 for a wedding that wanted to pay. And that was another sign that said, we got to keep going. Again, I was like, just so fucking stressed out. I'm like, we're gonna have to close this down. This is into, 2015, 16. And no, we got that big check. We floated it. And after that, it was good. But, after we got everything figured out, we got the kitchen open, and it was crunch time. After that year, 2016, we were getting so busy and getting, a lot of caterings, a lot of events in homes. We made the decision to have Paige quit her job. Alcon was great. Benefits were amazing. And we decided to just take the leap. We still had insurance, so that's when we got pregnant and all that good stuff. And because their insurance, like I said, is amazing. It's the golden handcuffs, they call it, right?
Yeah.
You have, you may not be happy working there, but I mean, you got all the benefits of the world, right? So we decided to just take the leap and go for it. And after we did that, man, we just took off. We took off. requests and all these events just started coming in. It was slow, but we had some really good big budget events that helped us.
And you're not only doing catering.
No,
you've got your supper club.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So we had these event spaces. We had a kitchen. We needed more room, so we expanded to the building next to us. But we weren't booking as many events just yet. So I remember when I went to Portland, they were doing a lot of pop-up dinners at random locations. So I told Paige, I said, hey, let's do a pop-up. We'll call it Supper Club, Magdalena Supper Club. We'll invite our past, clients and just go from there. And then we'll start building our email list, right? And at first we wanted to do it like a restaurant because initially that was the goal, open up a restaurant. So we had restaurant seating, right? I'm like, well, that just, we did our first 2, 3. It just didn't feel right. It just felt like any other place. I'm like, let's change it to community style seating. I feel like that's going to, entice people, meet new people. Because I was, about the connection, especially meeting all these random people in New York was really cool. So I wanted people to do that. And
we wouldn't be doing this guy any justice if we didn't name drop him. And you know who I'm going to name drop, right?
Do it.
You know who, right? Who is your biggest fan / stalker? My friend
Chris Schwartz.
He was always,
we love you, bud.
So Chris, it was really funny is you and I had known each other for some time or an EO forum, but I still hadn't been to the supper club. And he was like, hey, we're going to go to Juan's supper club. You want to go? And, and it's one of those things. It wasn't that I hadn't wanted to go before, but man, we were all so busy at that point of growing our businesses that it was just, we're getting hit by 1,000 things. I was like, yeah, absolutely. I've had his cooking, so I know how well he cooks. And then when we went and I saw this community style, long rows of tables and chairs, and I was really amazed by how many people I recognized in there, right? I was like, hey, I know that person from this business and this person from this business. And even actually one of your staff that used to work at Waters when it was on West 7th before being in downtown.
Oh, yeah.
I saw her and I was
Vicky.
Like, I saw Vicky and I was like, hey, I remember you from Waters. And she was like, actually, that was the reason I was making a beeline over here. I remember when you and Laura used to come here. So it was just really amazing it wasn't, it was in that moment that you had always talked about your vision when we would, all right, I'm not violating anything, right. So you would talk to me offline about it, right? Yeah. But when you would share your vision about like, man, I want to create something that's not just that regular restaurant, right?
Sure.
And you and I'd have drinks and talking about this. And I had a hard time really understanding the concept of what that was. I mean, naturally I support you 100%, but I was like, but once I saw it, I was like, this isn't just coming here for great cuisine. This is coming for an experience.
Exactly.
And of course, when I walk in and Chris had no idea that, I think he knew that we knew each other, but he didn't know how well we knew each other.
Yeah.
And when he sees you come out and make a beeline to me, give me a big hug, and you walk off, he was like, you know Juan? And I was like, yeah. I was like, do you want to take an inappropriate photo and text it to him right now? I was like, I'm totally doing that. Most people shouldn't answer my texts in public because you never know what you're going to get. And you're like, oh, let's delete that one. But then he was just like, yeah. And so, but it was also, what's funny is, giving Chris a hard time here is Chris is someone who I would say a chef that by desire, doing it as a hobby, not as a living. And he, as a matter of fact, last summer, he called me, this was in, I think around August timeframe, said, hey, I'm looking to get away. I'd really like to come out to Pagosa. I'm tired of the Texas heat. Where can I stay? And I was like, I got a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house right here on a mountaintop. I was like, you can stay at my house. And he's like, well, how much would that cost? And I was like, bro, you come cook for the week, we're good. And so he did. He shows up, I kid you not, with his truck loaded. We'd had boxes of meat that was being shipped in. So he gets in here and I mean, we eat incredible for a week. And so the point being is Chris is someone that is very particular about food because of how much effort he puts into creating his own, that for him to look up to you so much was, you kind of take your friendships for granted. Sometimes you go, yeah, of course he's great. Yeah, of course he's the best at what he does. Yeah, of course. But then you see someone like Chris, who when he looks up to you, I'm like, wow, Juan really is the best, because Chris does not put that kind of passion into supporting someone unless they are the absolute best. So for Chris, when you're listening to this, we did give you a shout out. So you got the community style seating, you're catering. As a matter of fact, you got a new big gig you're doing now, right? Where's that one at?
Well, we have a food truck as well.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
We bought our food truck. We've had it since last year, but we bought it from Austin City. Which
was another one you opened.
Yeah. Helped. I'm the culinary director there. But with COVID, I kind of stepped out a little bit so I can focus on Magdalena's. But no, yeah, last year was crazy. We can talk about that later.
We'll come back to that. Let's talk about about Rocker B.
Rocker B. Oh man, Rocker B is fun. It's owned by Lance and Lauren Bird. They're here from Fort Worth. Awesome people. We started doing events there. Paige met somebody, or didn't meet somebody. She knew somebody from Alito that was helping them out and introduced us. We did several caterings for them, and they said, "Hey, we like you to take over all the concessions in the restaurant. When baseball season comes." They're a baseball facility / resort. It's kind of like a small Rough Creek Lodge, but with 3 big baseball fields, and it's more for the select teams. So all these teams from all over come play. They did a great job, building these really cool AstroTurf fields, and yeah, it's anywhere from 1,500 people to 2,500 people.
2,500 people. You're feeding 2,500 people. What kind of supply chain and logistical, holy cow, does that come with?
Oh, it's simple food. Really good burger, chicken strips, just what baseball kids want, right? But we've learned the hard way, and not the hard way. It's just I let my ego get in the way of wanting to do something good. Keep up with the Magdalena's feel and this and that. And the first week we went with necessarily a crazy menu, but just throwing our spin on it, right? And the owners told us, hey, these kids just want a good burger, chicken strips, whatever, right? I'm like, oh, no, yeah, we did that. But, you just have to go in there and see for yourself sometimes, right? But man, these kids come in, they order 5, 6, 7 burgers all day long, and we just need to pump them out, right? So, just luckily we have enough space to just bring in a bunch of food and just store it. They're back-to-back tournaments, so it kind of helps out, rotate everything. But man, it's crazy seeing that type of volume. It's nuts.
Yeah.
And they need their food quick because, the dad doesn't want to miss his kid's game. And, we actually had one guy come in last week and was buying some stuff, and wife texted him and said, "Oh my God, I missed my son's first home run. Is there any way you guys have it on camera?" And they were able to bring up the camera, the video, and give him the little clip of his son making, his first home run. So it's just pumping out food, right? Pumping. It helps my guys get super fast It's totally the opposite of what we do, over here, where we take our time, we develop the food and all the good stuff. Over here, it's just, now let's get some good food out and pump it out. But we're going to be there all year long, all year. And we have caterings in between weddings, corporate events. So if you know anybody that needs to take their team out somewhere for a week or a couple days, I think that's the place to go.
You're talking about like corporate events, like go out there, maybe like a retreat or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, are they getting quick burgers or are they getting Magdalena?
No, they're getting Magdalenas. Yeah. For the tournaments, it's quick burgers, but for the other events, the weddings, the corporate events, we're doing custom menus just like we do now at Magdalena's. Yeah. So it's cool, and it's there's golf. I think there's a driving range. There's ski. There's 4-wheelers. There's a pond to go fish. There's a lot of amenities for people. There's a disc golf throughout the property, basketball courts. Everything you can ever want for a retreat.
So you're able to kind of keep your identity as Magdalena's, and but also be able to go supersonic whenever you have large events. Yep. Well, let's go back to a year ago. I get goosebumps thinking about this. So those of you that haven't listened to previous episodes or whatnot, I've owned a restaurant for coming up on 10 years this June, that we hope we make it to that June, actually. And I'm not, to be honest with you, I don't live with a lot of confidence that we do. I hope that we do. My GM, Jeremy, his name's also Jeremy, he's doing everything there is possible, but there are just some things not within your control that I told him. I said, if we make it to August, we're going to be just fine. Yeah. So the goal is, not staying open, just make it to August. Eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? Mm-hmm. But there's an industry called the restaurant industry, other industries too, not taking away from that. But the restaurant industry in March of last year, COVID hits us. Take me to where you are there.
Yeah, man, that was killer. Still is. We lost $1 million in sales. Not knowing what the fuck is going to happen. It's like, all right, when March hit, we actually went to a catering convention in March, beginning of March in Vegas, and we started seeing the effect of it, but it didn't click just yet until, we got back home and, shit went south. And we had so many events lined up. We were going for a record-breaking year in 2019. We were going to hit 2 million. We were on track to hit 2 million. And weddings, people started emailing, calling, said we need to change, we need to cancel. So it's like this super high. And then all the restrictions started hitting. And you just start seeing, it's like you're losing everything within your reach and you can't do anything about it because, it's just a moment, we knew we had to do something, so we started, like everybody else, doing kits and to-go meals, and our servers became our delivery drivers. Everybody just kind of came together and said, all right, boss, what do we need to do? I knew that I didn't want to lose my staff, and we didn't. We kept everybody on board. So we tried to do anything that we could to, stay open and keep everybody employed. So we still had a couple events in between that people still wanted to have, they're at their home. We transitioned to doing small, intimate weddings. The bride still wanted to have a wedding, so they just wanted to do like a 10, 15, 20 person wedding in their backyard. So we did that. So they're having a big event this year, a lot of big events this year. But man, that was, I don't know. It's just past year, obviously. So it's a blur for me trying to stay afloat. And
when can you remember because we all hit our lows going in it, right? Where you were just like, I'm not sure I'm going to be open tomorrow.
Yeah.
Do you remember that moment when right before things started to pick up again, when that was for you?
Yeah. for us, it was May, end of May. We have gone, the PPP loan was kind of going, or diminishing. And we're coming to our slow season, which is, July and August.
Mainly because if you've never visited Texas,
yeah,
we're like a mile from the sun in July
no
and
kidding.
August, and it's like 1,000% humidity. Nobody wants an outdoor wedding because it just is horribly hot, right?
Yeah, yeah. So at that point, we weren't sure. We were still keeping everybody on staff, and so we had to make the call, and we'll start pulling from money from wherever we could. Maxed out a couple of credit cards, pulled from savings that I've had since I was 25. Whatever we could to keep everybody employed and keep our dream, my dream, our dream alive. It wasn't until August where we got a call. There was somebody looking for a chef to go up to Colorado to work on their ranch for their hunters for elk season. And that kind of helped us stay afloat, along with some more parties that people started booking. So that kind of helped us. So if you're a hunter, if you're looking for any elk hunts, let me know. I'm your guy. This place is really cool. White River Mountain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. No. I don't even know how to put it into words this past year. I mean, the restaurant business is probably one of the most resilient businesses there's out there. We pulled together, we got creative, we helped each other. We started handing out food to people who needed it. It didn't make me mad. It just bothered me just a little bit that we didn't go straight to government for help like the airline business, right? Obviously you can't compare. You got a lot of money that goes into the airline business, but we were made to, we had to adapt, and for us to, adapt and go through everything that we went through, and people still blaming the restaurants for the increases or spikes and this and that with no studies behind it. It's like, all right, that's enough. This is our dream. We don't have a lot of funding. We're trying to do whatever we can. We're helping the community still. I don't see anybody else helping the community but us. And, we're just done. We're done. F you. I don't care about you. I just care about my family, my staff, and my business,
Yeah.
So
you're right though, is, the very thing that provides not only your livelihood for your family, but is also provided for other people.
For sure.
Because, look, Americans gotten lazy. How many people don't even have a kitchen because they eat out every night? What are they able to do?
Mm-hmm.
But yet we can't open up because if we do, we're the reason why COVID, right? Yeah. So we could easily get down that track, which I'll keep us on track here because I know we got some feelings towards that.
For sure.
But, and so Colorado comes in, that helps.
Yeah.
And then, Chris Swartz again.
Yeah.
He calls me. I was coming back from Colorado. This is, you'll have to remind me. I can't remember if it was October or November that you opened the supper club again.
I think it was October.
Yeah. And it was the first night you were going to reopen, I think, right? For the supper club.
For sure.
Because, it would go, I think it was something like, because of the inside space that you had when they were like, oh, you can do 50% capacity, but 6-foot tables. Based on how you do that, it doesn't make any sense at that point. There's too many, if you can't fill the room, there's no sense in doing it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And then you had finished that outdoor space, which by the way was perfect because the weather was perfect. And then seeing, so Chris is like, hey, and our daughter was in town, Maggie.
Oh yeah.
And
right.
We were like, yeah, we're going. And Chris always brings really good wine.
He does.
And he does always bring really good wine. And you see him coming, you're like, hey, I know he's going to have some good wine for me to drink.
Bring a glass, okay.
Yeah, bring a glass. But seeing, we were sitting at our table, and for those of y'all that have never been and experienced Magdalena, one of the things that Juan does is he comes out and he talks about the menu.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about the characteristics of what goes into each of the items on the menu and what it's supposed to mean and what he's aiming for the taste experience you're going to get out of it. And you had matter of fact, when you saw me walk in, you went over and I can't remember which whiskey you had or a bourbon. And you were like, hey man, I just had somebody bring you some bourbon. You got to try this.
Yeah. It's from the whiskey club that I'm part of.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I was like, man, that's good stuff. So when you come out to do your opening, seeing the smile on your face, and there still wasn't a ton of people there. There was enough for you to justify doing, okay, if we got this many people, we can do it. And then to watch you walk out and hear the passion in your voice of, we're back, baby.
Yeah.
We're back. And then we start picking up this momentum. We're doing all these great things. And then second weekend of February, Texas shuts down for this freeze. What was going through your mind at that point? Like,
man, we can't get a fucking break. Jesus Christ. How many more things can be thrown at us,
Yeah.
And most of the places are doing outdoor dining, but here comes this big ass blizzard. It's like, okay, now we got closed down, So we had the food truck. We started doing food truck events, going to different neighborhoods and doing pop-ups at Magdalena's with the food truck. So that helped out. But man, at this point, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to wait for the next, blow. What else is it going to be? Come on, just bring it. I mean, we've adapted all year long. What else can be that bad?
Yeah. But one of the things is Juan's being very humble right now because that's who Juan is. Yeah. There was a big news article, and I want to make sure that when Nate puts this together, I want that news article to be on your read more about you. Yeah. There's a big Star Telegram because I think y'all had just right before the freeze happened, got in the shipment of food to be used for the week. And it's not going to do any good if you can't go do it. So Juan was actually out, not just doing this as a business, but helping people by going, all right, who needs some food? We're showing up and making food for people. Yeah. And so tell us about that.
Yeah, we started distributing tacos and waters and Topo Chicos because Topo Chico sponsored a bunch of their beverages. So we did, whoever needed, tacos, just come and get, some tacos and some drinks, right? We started at Magdalena's, and then we took the food truck over to the Bob Bolin Center complex and fed the firefighters, firemen, police officers, whoever, first responders, and really whoever needed a meal. During that time, I had a friend, Brendan Doherty, who was acquiring all these boxes of food, and he called up and said, "Hey, I know you're doing your meals at for the first responders. You want to take 50 boxes of food?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take it." And we took it with us, and I'm glad we did. There at that time, people, the freeze we're coming out of the freeze, but then that's when people were finding out their pipes were bursting and this damage was done. So they had no heat, no water, and
no electricity.
No.
Grubhub ain't working on delivering.
Yeah, no. So the police officers would take boxes back to their neighborhood stations and drop it off at different homes that they knew needed some food. So it was cool, to see that and help each other out. And we were there for 2 hours just handing out a shit ton of tacos.
What really amazes me is from when we started this episode to go through your journey of all of these different places you got the experience to then risk it all to go start it and all the ups and downs to then you get there and you're killing it. And then COVID happens and just, you're barely making it. All the money you had made to be able to expand and everything else. And then now COVID comes in and just decimates you. And then you finally pick up momentum again. And then the freeze is decimating you again, that your generosity to still help.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I know you get really wound up when people go, well, it's really restaurants that caused this. Cause you're like, I've risked everything I have to get to where I'm at. And And then now you want to say that when you went through all your money and everything else, you still went and gave when there was nothing more to give. And that's how much you care about everything. It takes me back to when you started this, when you were at Steak and Ale and you were talking to your chef, and she said, I think you've got what it takes as long as you're willing to do above and beyond, working weekends, working nights, working holidays. And I kind of joked with you and said, did you have any idea what that meant? And then now, all these years later, you did have what it took. And it made me think of something you said earlier, is when you were at culinary school and you were thinking about dropping out and she convinced you not to drop out. I don't really think there was any convincing. I think maybe just a little reassurance.
Yeah.
Because
for sure.
They saw in you, right? Being the youngest in chef school to graduate, to be the youngest executive chef at Riata, one of the name brand staples of restaurants here in Fort Worth, is that you did have what it took. Do you think that there is something about some people that, even though you don't know quite yet what the movie's going to look like to play out, but you see them and you go, this person's got that something special that's going to go do amazing things. Do you think that you had the ability that even you, looking at, the younger people that are now coming in, where you're able to go, this person, we don't know what their story's going to look like, but they're going to have a great story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I see that now. It's crazy. It's crazy. I see it with my guys too. I'm like, you're going to be really good if you just keep up what you're doing.
Just know what you're getting into.
Yeah, what you're getting into. That's the first thing. It's going to be long, but the journey's long, but yeah, you'll do good.
Yeah.
Trust me.
So I like to wind every one of these episodes up with, and what's really funny is, even a little over an hour into this thing of recording, we've only hit high level steps of everything you went through to get your experience and the trials and tribulations to get to where you're at, right? And to survive, not just survive, but thrive through. Man, it was like, remember that old Nintendo game? I'm sure you do. You were talking about it, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
Oh yeah,
you're like
I love that
Glass
game.
Joe fighting Mike Tyson, right? But you're not going to give up. You're in there. Is looking back, I know we would all want to go back and tell 20-year-old self a million things, but looking back now, if there was one thing that was like, do this or don't do this, but whatever you do, if you just do this, you're gonna be okay. What is that one thing that you would go back and tell 20-year-old Juan?
Don't undersell yourself.
Yeah. Tell me more about that.
I think I didn't have that I didn't have that confidence back then. I knew, now looking back, what my worth was worth. Like I knew that I was very valuable to a team, but I just didn't have the confidence. So I would just tell myself, just be more confident. You're working hard as it is right now. You'll pull through, but just know what your worth is. You're worth a lot. And travel more. Man, if I could have, especially in this business, if I could have gone to LA or any other big city, worked for 6 months, I would have done it.
Yeah.
More experience. But I mean, I don't hate where I am now, you know, but I think back then I would have done a little more traveling, not spend so much money on stupid stuff.
You did get to go to one really cool place. Well, I mean, you've been to many cool places, but somewhere.
I had the chance to go to Spain, to Barcelona. I had a chef of mine. I was at a point where I wanted to go and work somewhere outside of Texas. And he's like, I just came from Spain, Barcelona. I have contacts in Barcelona. Do you want to go? I'm like, Barcelona sounds really good. Something happened and started dating someone and kind of kept me here. I'm like, oh, well.
But a couple of years ago, you did get to go to Tokyo.
Yeah. Been twice.
That's right.
I love it. I'm ready to go back.
How cool is that?
It was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. Besides New York, Tokyo, the way they live, their culture, their food above all is just amazing. They It can be the smallest little stand, but they take so much pride into what they do that it makes the rest of us look lazy.
Yeah.
Lazy. And they make it look so easy.
And it's not just fish.
Yeah, no. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've had such when I think of celebrity chefs, right? And, people don't know a lot of the backstories by what took. You don't just come out of the womb as a celebrity chef, right? Mm. There's a lot of trials and tribulations. And basically, when you finally made it, you've had every spot has tried to disqualify you along the way, where you're kind of like the special operations of the culinary world, in my opinion. Yeah. You're like SEAL Team 6 of culinary, right? Yeah, for sure. And so tier 1, and you are, and I aside from the great food that I've always got to enjoy from you, I've always really appreciated your friendship and how supportive you've been of me of many years, and how much I've learned from you, not just on the restaurant side, but what I've learned out of you on even my real estate side of the business. And so I'm really grateful for that. So the audience wants to know more about catering and supper club, or just hiring you to go off to Colorado to do all that. How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah. So our website, magdalenastx.com. We post stuff on there. Our social media, our girls do a great job with social media. So if you go to Magdalena's TX on Instagram, and then Magdalena's Fort on Facebook, we post up a lot of the events. Catering, we do anything you can ever imagine. If you got a vision, we try to bring it to light and make it happen, and create some good food and a good event. We have our food truck. So if you need a food truck at your neighborhood, let us know. We've teamed up with some schools where we give 10% of our sales back to the PTA. And our supper club will kick back up the end of this month. Yeah, it's time. It's ready. We get at least 30 emails every week. When's it coming back? We're ready. Can we be the first? I'm like, yeah, it's coming. It's ready. We're ready. My chefs are ready. They're ready to start creating some good food. We're just ready to see the people that used to come all the time. And yeah, I think that's about it. Rocker B. So if you have kids that play baseball, if they're in a team, Rocker B, we'll be out there. Come see us. And then if you're an avid hunter, let me know. I'll get you hooked up with elk hunt out in God's country up there. It's beautiful up there. It's nice.
Well, I thank you, Juan. For the listeners out there, if you're wanting to know, if you missed out on what his website, how to get a hold of Juan on different social media, you can always go to www.myexperiencedrealtor.com. That's experience with an ED. When you go to My Experience, click on podcast, go down to Juan Rodriguez, click on read more, and you will find out how to directly get in touch with his team. Thank you for coming, Juan.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Time, brother.
Yeah, no, man, appreciate it. Thank you. That was awesome.
What'd you think?
That was good. Yeah. I'll do it again.